Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, and welcome all the devotees online across the globe, including Mauritius, the Vidura Prabhu and team. Thank you very much for your kind association. Today we're going to continue Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, Chapter 9, verses 1 to 8, answers by citing the Lord's version. The purports are fairly comprehensive, so we may not complete all the verses. Let's see how we go, but a very, very, very important chapter. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Tapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Scha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesa Sunyavadi Vastatyad Satarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Sarva Shastra Piyusha Sarva Vedeka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadya Sarva Lokaya Triprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavato Prabhu Kali Dvando Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of all Vedic scriptures, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas, O you enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions, O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world, O light breath of the Vaishnava devotees, O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. You are actual Krishna who has returned amongst us. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshasha Rayate Sarvada Sarva Sevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namastute O Srimad Bhagavatam. I offer respectful obeisance unto you. By reading you one attains transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone for your incarnation, Lord Krishna. Madeka Bandhu Mad Sangim Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Andananda Namastute O Srimad Bhagavatam, my only friend, O my companion, O my teacher, my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Asadu sadhu tadai natini chochataraka hanamuncha kadachinmam premnarit katayospura O Srimad Bhagavatam. O give us saintliness to our unsaintly. O uplift to the very fallen. Please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest in Mahatma truth, accompanied in pure love of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Janmadyasya Yatonvayari Tarata, Charte Swabhigna Swarat, Tene Brahma Hidaya Adikavaye, Muyanti Yatsuraya, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatrati Sargom Risha, Damna Svena Sadani Rastakokam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord Shri Krishna, Son of Vasudeva, O pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisance to you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primal cause of all causes of creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by illusory representation of water seen in fire, land seen on water. Only because of him that the material universe is temporarily manifested by the reaction of the three modes of nature appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in transcendental abode, which is forever free from illusory representation of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Prayana Upaisha Sabya Kalavasmin Yuge Jana Manda Sumanda Matayo Manda Bhagyo Padrita O learned one, in this iron age of Kali, many but short lives. They are quarrelsome, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. Narayan Namaskritya Narachevam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamutirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisance unto the personality of God and Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supreme human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Savai Pumsa Paro Dharmo Yato Bhaktira Dokshaja Hetuka Prati Yata Yatma Suprisiddhati. The supreme occupation dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotion. Under the transcendent Lord, such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the soul. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janayatyu Vairagyam Jnanam Chaya Dahoitukam. By rendering devotional service under the personality of God and Shri Krishna, one immediately acquires cosmic knowledge and detachment from the world. Vedanti tattva vidas tattvam yat gnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti sabhyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman Paramatma Bhagavan. Shushusho Satadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syan Mahatsevaya Vipra Punya Chita Nishtavanat. O twice born sages, by serving those devotees completely free from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the messages of Vasudeva. Shringutam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Reddantastoya Badrani Vidunati Suritsatam. Shri Krishna, the personality of God, who is Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart. And the benefactor of the truthful devotee cleanses desire from material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtues and properly heard and chanted. Nasta Prayashu Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasmukhe Bhakti Bhavati Nashtiki. By regular attendance and the classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed in loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Vyam Swadharmam Parinishtaya Janmalabha Paras Pumsam Antenarayana Smriti. The highest perfection in human life achieved either by complete knowledge of matter and spirit, by practice of mystic powers, or by perfect discharge of occupational duties to remember the personality of God at the end of life. Akama Sarakama Va Mokshakama Udaridi Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajate Purusham Param. A person who has broad intelligence, where they be full of all material desires, without any material desires or desire and liberation, must by all means worship the supreme whole, the personality of Godhead. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are continuing Srimad Bhagavatam based on the teachings of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivinoda Swami Srila Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Hare Krishna. Let's just cover some feedback from anyone, if you can remember. Verses 24 to 29, please type in the chat. Also, just a sound check. How is everyone else finding the sound? Is it coming and going? The internet may be on your side. Let me just quick sound check from the others. Sound is clear. Sharina, thank you. Anyone else? Sound is good. All right. So, Radhika Kirti Vani Devidasi, please check on your side. Maybe obviously the internet on your side. And if it cuts out, it is recorded. So you can obviously catch the recording, both on YouTube as well as on the Academy. All right. So if anybody does have any feedback, you can type. Otherwise, I will just summarize. Okay, we'll skip it. I didn't replace this power statement. So Srila Prabhupada is going to give us very extensive purports to the different verses that we're going to cover. We heard the previous chapter, in chapter 8, Maharaj Parikshit had asked many questions from verse 7 to around verse 23. And the questions had, included multiple, each verse included multiple questions. So there were very, very extensive questions covering a vast array of fields of inquiry. Consider March Parikshit. It's got 7 days before he dies, before he leaves his body. And yet he is asking questions covering areas which you would not even think that this would be something important for someone going to die. And we know that March Parikshit had already inquired from Sukadev Goswami, please tell me what a dying man should do. And Sukadev Goswami had already replied that he should hear about, remember the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. So even after hearing that, March Parikshit inquires about many subject matters which apparently does not seem to be connected directly to Krishna. And Sukadev Goswami begins to answer those questions. Systematically goes to answering all the different questions. And from chapter 9, Canto 2, this is really where Srimad Bhagavatam now starts to unfold. And specifically this chapter, you'll see here at the bottom, verses 39 to 46, Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. This is where the Lord instructs Lord Brahma on the whole Bhagavatam in 4 verses. Just like we have Bhagavad Gita, Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, 8, 9, 10, and 11 of chapter 10. Similarly, here also, Canto 2, chapter 9, we get the Chaturshloki Bhagavatam. So very, very important chapter. And we will see as we go through the verses, Prabhupada's extensive purports, again implying very, very important, especially for those entangled in this material world. These are very, very important instructions. So we're going to try to cover verses 1 to 8. And we're not going to rush, but we're going to go through each of these verses. And if we cannot finish in time, we'll have a part 2. So in the previous chapter, chapter 8, Canto 2, March Parikshit started asking questions from verse 7. And one of the first questions that March Parikshit asked was about the Lord and the Jiva. How did the Jiva, who is spiritual, attain a body which is material? This question and all these questions, in fact, the whole Bhagavatam is simply about you and Krishna. So this question is really about you and Krishna. How is it related to you? Well, how did you get this material body? How are you in this fix with this material body? Please type in the chat if having a material body is really an issue. Having a material body, being in the material world, is that really a problem? Or maybe we're making up a problem. Maybe there is no problem. So just to make sure that there's some clarity, let's just see how many of you think, yes, having a material body is a concern. It's a problem. It's something that we need to deal with. Definitely something not to be taken lightly. Right, so Les says it's an issue. Archana CD David does say yes. Rajni says yes. Hemavati says yes. It is an issue. It's a problem. All our suffering is related to this body. Yes. So therefore, this question of how you got this body is very, very important, because if you know how you got this body, what's its relationship with the jiva, then you also know how not to get the body by reversing that. So therefore, this is very, very important. Just like if I have boils coming out, and the doctor tells me the boils are because of excess sugar. Now, boils are very painful. So if I know that the boils are there because of excess sugar and it's very painful and I don't want the boils, I just reduce the content, the amount of sugar that I'm consuming. And that resolves the issue with the boils. So let's start with verse 1. Shri Sukha Uvacha Atma Mayam Rite Rajan Parasyanu Bhavan Bhavatmana Nagate Tartha Sambandha Swapna Drashtur Evan Jasa. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, O king, unless one is influenced by the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, there is no meaning to the relationship of the pure soul in pure consciousness with the material body. That relationship is just like a dreamer's seeing his own body working. So Sukadev Goswami is making it very, very clear. Firstly, if there is no influence with Krishna's energy, especially the inferior energy, then there is no meaning to one's relationship with the body. And the example is given of a dreamer seeing his own body working. Srila Prabhupada's purport. So Prabhupada is going to first talk about the influence of this energy that Sukadev Goswami is talking about. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how a living entity began his material life. I'm going to pause there. And again, I want to emphasize, wherever it says living entity, please put your name there. Please put you there. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how you began your material life. It's about us. It's about me and you, not everyone else out there, even though it's applicable to everyone. But we need to take the Bhagavatam coming into our life for our life. It's not by chance. It's not by chance that you are hearing and associating with Srimad Bhagavatam. The more you take these instructions to heart, that means it's directed towards me. You'll be able to then understand and achieve the result that Bhagavatam wants us to have. Maharaj Parikshit's question as to how a living entity began his material life, although he is apart from the material body and mind, is perfectly answered. Many people, they ask the question, how did I come into this material world? How did I fall into this material world, etc.? So really the question we should be asking is this. The question that Sukadeva Goswami asked, and here is the answer to that question. The spirit soul is distinct from the material conception of his life, but he is absorbed in such a material conception because of being influenced by the external energy of the Lord called Atmamaya. So first point is that the living entity is distinct. Distinct means that it is superior energy. The spirit soul is superior. The internal energy is superior. The material energy is inferior. So both marginal and internal are superior energies of Krishna. And the material energy is distinctly different from the marginal and superior and internal energy. And the only reason you are absorbed marginal energy, which is higher, being absorbed in matter, especially this body, is because of the influence of Atmamaya, of external energy. Now the questions that will follow is, well then, is that not the fault of the external energy? Why is Krishna allowing this? How can I overcome this, etc.? All these questions will be answered. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasadev's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. If you remember, who can remember what Srila Vyasadeva saw? He was despondent. He had given the Puranas. He was still not fully satisfied. Narad Muni appeared to him. Narad Muni revealed to him his mistake. He then wrote Srimad Bhagavatam, and in his meditation, he saw something in relation to the Supreme Lord and the external energy. Who can tell me yes? Amavati and Nalinikanta had written answer. The Lord and the Maya was in the back. The Lord was there, and at the back was the material energy. So Prabhupada is making the point again. This has already been explained in the first canto in connection with Vyasadev's realization of the Supreme Lord and his external energy. They are distinct, and there's a distance. The Lord never ever comes in contact and gets involved with his material energy. That's why he expands himself as Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is in relation with the external energy, Parvati or Durga, Maya Devi. The external energy is controlled by the Lord, and the living entities are controlled by the external energy, by the will of the Lord. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. Take that statement. I'm going to read that statement again, and I'm going to ask a question in relation to that statement. Therefore, although a living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. If we want to become free from the influence, what needs to change for that to happen? Just in relation to that statement that I read. If we want to become free from the influence of material energy, what needs to change? Taking specifically the sentence that I repeated. What needs to change? So, Mother Lesh, yes, but I'm specifically looking now. You see, you're all giving me, your answers are not incorrect, but I want the answer specifically related to only this sentence, nothing beyond that. So I'm going to read it again. Therefore, although the living entity is purely conscious in his pure state, he is subordinate to the will of the Lord in being influenced by the external energy of the Lord. So what needs to change for me not to be influenced? Very interesting. If people are saying dovetail our desires to the will of the Lord, we have to surrender to the Lord. We have to be in pure goodness. Remember Krishna, forget him, come back to our pure state, focus intensely on preaching the Lord's practice, surrender to Krishna, our consciousness. We need to become Aham Brahmasmi again. So, the correct answer in relation to the sentence is the will of the Lord needs to change. The will of the Lord needs to change. It is by the will of the Lord that we are under influence. So if the will of the Lord changes, that means the Lord says, okay, now you're not under influence. Guess what happens? You're no more under influence. True or false? Prabhupada is making very clear. It is by the will of the Lord that we are under influence. So if Krishna wills otherwise, game over, problem solved. So all we need to do now is change the will of the Lord. That means the desire of the Lord. If we can convince the Lord otherwise, problem solved. Now, how do you change the will of the Lord? That's all the statements you all have shared. How do I change the will of the Lord? I dovetail my desire with the will of the Lord. I surrender to the Lord. I try to, absorb myself in pure goodness. I remember Krishna and never forget him. I come back to my pure state. I focus intensely on teaching the Lord and the practice. I surrender to Krishna. I understand I am spirit soul. I change my consciousness. Now when you do that, you are giving a sign to Krishna that you want to change. Then Krishna becomes pleased. And when Krishna becomes pleased, immediately his will changes. When his will changes, the influence of the material energy is no more there. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, also the same thing is confirmed. The Lord is present within the heart of every living entity, and all the living entities' consciousness and forgetfulness are influenced by the Lord. Mata smriti gnanam pohanam cha. From me comes remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Krishna is not doing that on his own accord. He's doing that in relation to your desire. So Prabhupada is going to link that now. Now the next question automatically made will be why the Lord influences the living entity to such consciousness and forgetfulness. See, Prabhupada, it's very interesting how Prabhupada is presenting the first paragraph in relation to you having a material body as the will of Krishna, the control of Krishna, Krishna's influence of remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Now the question is, well, why is the Lord doing that? Is he unfair? Is he just thinking, okay, it's like inky pinky ponky, right? Is he just randomly choosing living entities that need to be influenced because he's got nothing else to do? So why is, why are certain living entities influenced and why are others not? And the bottom line, or the most important question is, well, why am I influenced then? What did I do? Answer is that the Lord clearly wishes that every living entity be in his pure consciousness as a part and parcel of the Lord, and thus be engaged in the loving service of the Lord as he is constitutionally made. So Prabhupada is now emphasizing and establishing the point that Krishna's wish, Krishna's desire is that he wants us to be in our pure service, in our pure consciousness. Okay? So then the question still stands. Why is Krishna doing this? If that's what Krishna's desire is, if that's what his wish, then why is he doing this? But because the living entity is partially independent also, he may not be willing to serve the Lord, but may try to become as independent as the Lord is. That's the answer. We are independent, partially independent. Krishna is independent. We have partial independence. Because of our independence, we can decide serve, not to serve. And right now, I have, or because of my initial desire of not to serve, here I am with this material body. So now you could look in the mirror, and when you look in the mirror and you see you have a material body, then that mirror is telling you the reason you have a material body is because you decided not to serve the Lord. You decided you want to become independent, completely like the Lord. All the non-devotee living entities are desirous of becoming equally as powerful as the Lord, although they are not fit to become so. The living entities are illusioned by the will of the Lord because they wanted to become like him. This is our mistake. Like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualifications, when the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put into a condition of dreaming that he is a king. So see how Prabhupada started with the will of Krishna, under the desire of Krishna, the will of Krishna. The material energy covers the living entity. It's not Krishna's fault because Krishna wants us to serve him in pure consciousness, in our constitutional position. It is because we are independent, we have decided to become the Lord's. And see how Prabhupada is now linking it. You don't have the qualifications to be the Lord. Just like you don't have the qualification to be the king. Let me ask a question. How many of you here have qualifications to be a doctor? Yes or no? You can type in the chat. Right. No doctors, yeah. So, if you want to be a doctor now, Right now, you want to be a doctor. You like convinced you want to be a doctor, but you don't have the qualifications of a doctor. Can you be a doctor? Yes or no? You don't have the qualifications of the doctor. You don't have the resources of a doctor, but you want to be a doctor. You're so absorbed that you want to be a doctor right now. Can you be a doctor? Hemavati says, if you go and study, that's going to take you some time. And rather, Kirti Rani Devidasi got it right. We can dream of being a doctor. So that means if you go sleep now, and while sleeping, because you are so obsessed with being a doctor, guess what happens? Automatically, you're a doctor. And there you are, you're doing surgery, heart surgery, and you're the best heart surgeon. Right? You're the best heart surgeon. You're busy operating on the table on someone you don't like. And then as soon as like the outcome, then your dream stops because you don't know what the outcome is. But guess what? You just became a doctor in your dream. And that's where you see Prabhupada is now linking this whole aspect of your independence, material energy, because you are not qualified. Prabhupada says, like a person who thinks of becoming a king without possessing the necessary qualifications, when the living entity desires to become the Lord himself, he is put into condition dreaming that he is a king. Yes, become an actor and play a role of the doctor. Although you're really not playing a role of a doctor, you are actually a doctor in your dream. In your dream, it's not like I'm someone and I'm acting as a doctor. No. In your dream, you are a doctor. 100%, you are a doctor. Prabhupada continues. Therefore, the first sinful will of the living entity is to become the Lord. And the consequent will of the Lord is that the living entity forget his factual life and thus dream of the land of Ethiopia where he will become one like the Lord. This is your first reason, your first mistake, your first sinful activity, first deviation that brought you to this material world. The child cries. Now Prabhupada is going to give us an example. The child cries to have the moon from the mother. And the mother gives the child a mirror to satisfy the crying and disturbing child with the reflection of the moon. We see Lord Krishna also, Lord Chaitanya also. They would cry, I want the moon, I want the moon. Then Mother Yashoda would show Krishna in a dish of water, and then Krishna would play with the moon. Similarly, the crying child of the Lord is given over to the reflection, material world, to lord it over as a karmi, and to give this up in frustration to become one with the Lord. Both these stages as dreaming illusions, both these stages are dreaming illusions. So to lord it over as a karmi, that means to enjoy, because the Lord is the enjoyer and the controller, proprietor. So we want to enjoy and we want to lord over. We also want to be controllers, proprietors. Eventually, we want to be the Lord. So both to enjoy like the Lord and to become the Lord, both are dreaming stages. As we enjoy and lord over, we become frustrated and then we say, well, I'm God. So to become God is the greatest of the two evils. But both are stages of dreaming illusions. There is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. Many people ask the question, right? How, why, when? Prabhupada is emphasizing it. There is no necessity. There's no reason. Just like you get malaria. So you get malaria, you feel, symptoms of dizziness, etc., fever. You go to the hospital, the doctor diagnoses and says you have malaria. Now, do you start pondering, okay, wait, doctor, let me just think. I got malaria. So where did I get malaria? Was it, did I go? Wait, let's see, where did I go? I'm going to track all the places I went. Doc, how long should I look at? 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, and the duration, and then I can see all the places that I went to and then just analyze, and maybe I'll have to see which, maybe were the mosquitoes, which mosquito, was it, no, you don't go into that detail. It's not necessary. You know you got malaria, treat it. Similarly, you know that you have made a mistake, treat it. So there is no necessity of tracing out the history of when the living entity desired this. The fact that you are here, the fact that you have a material body, the fact that you're in the material world means somehow, somewhere, some along, I did that. Okay, I accept. Now, I want the solution. But the fact is that as soon as he desired it, he was put under the control of Atma Maya by the direction of the Lord. Therefore, the living entity in his material condition is dreaming falsely that this is mine and this is I. The dream is that the conditioned soul thinks of his material body as I, or falsely thinks that he is the Lord and that everything in connection with that material body is mine. Your condition is purely a dream. You having a material body, identifying with the material body, and identifying with everything in relation to this body, that experience in reality, in relation to the soul, is nothing more than a dream. Let's just speak a little about this dream. I'm sure you all have had some experience of a dream. Now, when we dream, we may not remember all our dreams. But what happens is your material body goes to rest, and your subtle material body is now fully active in dream state. So when your material body sleeps and your subtle material body starts to dream, you can go anywhere and experience anything on the subtle plane. How many of you had a dream that you had experienced like it was real? Whether you were chased by a tiger and you were perspiring, or you were screaming, you fell from a cliff and you were screaming, some dream that you had that you thought, boy, this is real. And you actually even would have manifested that on the external plane. Generally, we would have some sort of experience like that. I clearly remember when I was a kid, I was sleeping, and in my dreams as a kid, I went to my father's cupboard, got some money. I went to the shop. I bought some marbles. And that bag of marbles, I came home. I went to the dining room. I opened my mother's sewing machine. I put those marbles there. I closed the door. Then I woke up. And guess what was the first thing I did as soon as I got up as a kid? I ran to the dining room and I opened the drawer. And boy, did I throw a tantrum. Somebody took my marbles. I know I put the marbles here. I definitely put the marbles here. Somebody took my marbles. Who took my marbles? Started interrogating all my brothers. Who took my marbles? Somebody stole my marbles. But hold on, there was no marbles. No, there must. I put it there myself. What do you mean you put it there? When did you put it? I definitely put it there. I can remember I put it there. So the dream state is not false. It's on a subtle level. They're real. And sometimes they can manifest on the physical plane. They can manifest on the physical plane. Depend on your desires. If your desires are strong, they will manifest without fail. So, the living entity having a material body and material existence is a dream. Thus, only in dream does the misconception of I and mine persist life after life. This continues life after life, as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as the subordinate part and parcel of the Lord. So I want you to understand this verse and purport that Prabhupada is sharing, and separate it or try to understand it in relation to your current experience. Your current experience is when I'm awake, like now we all awake. Then in the evening, I go sleep, take rest. When I take rest, I dream. So when I'm awake, let's say that is a wakeful life. That's a wakeful state. That's when you are doing your proper occupation. Let's call that occupation A. When you're resting, you are no more doing occupation A. Now, according to your deep desires and mental concoction and things that you experience during your occupation A, you actually are experiencing occupation B, D, E, F, G, H till Z, all varieties, right? Long and short. It could be half a dozen in one night, all different experiences. Of the two, A or B to Z, which one would you say is more substantial and real? Of the two, A or B to Z, which one would you say is your real, substantial occupation? So, Mother Sharina, yes, if you understand the higher aspects, true, but I'm trying to, we're trying to understand this example in perspective. Don't worry about the higher aspects. Let's just look at the example that I'm sharing so that we can appreciate and understand the higher perspective in its proper context. Yes. So it's the physical, it's the A. So the A is my real existence. My B to Z is basically a dream. Okay. It's not substantial enough. Right. Now, if I'm experiencing the dream, B to Z, types of occupations, how do I come back to my original A state? And ask the question again. If I am experiencing B to Z and all its ramification, how do I come up to my A state? Good. All that I need to do is wake up. Everyone happy? I just need to wake up. As you all mentioning, just need to wake up. Now, what could wake me up? What could wake me up? Share different things that can wake you up. And again, don't go, don't like talk about, let's just keep to the example. Let's keep to the practical understanding example, right? Sound can wake me up. The alarm can wake me up. Someone can wake me up. Chant Hare Krishna. So again, Mother Radha, Kirti Radhi, I know that's where we're going to go to. Let's understand the example. Some shock. So the experience of something in B to Z can wake me up, right? Like when I'm falling from the cliff, before I hit the ground, I wake up. Somebody breaks in, makes a noise, wakes me up. My alarm wakes me up. My parents wake me up. Wake up, time to go to school. Good. So now we know someone wakes me up, alarm wakes me up, some experience wakes me up. As soon as I wake up, what happened to the experience of B to Z? What happened to the occupation of B to Z? That occupation that you were so engrossed, I was a heart surgeon, I was involved, I was falling from the cliff, I was being chased by a lion, I was experiencing heaven. All those experiences, guess what happens? It disappears in an instant. It's gone. It's vanished. It apparently looks like it didn't exist. But did it exist? Yes, it did exist. It's real. It's not fictitious. It's not false. It did exist on the subtle plane. It's temporary, but it's a subtle experience. It's not false. There's a big difference between false illusion and temporary. Something real can be temporary. Your dream is not false. It is temporary, definitely, but it's a valid experience. Okay. Now let's just take that same example. I'm awake, I got occupation A. I go to rest, I have occupation B to Z. As soon as I wake up, I'm back to A. Let's now escalate that to the next level. And the next level is now my occupation A is I'm a spirit soul. My B to Z, when I rest, when the soul rests, when the soul sleeps, when the soul forgets its identity, B to Z is dream state. Give me one word in this example now. So now forget, we have analyzed the first example. Now we're moving to a higher example of understanding the same example in relation to the higher example. So the higher example is I am now a spirit soul. As a spirit soul, my occupation is A. I dream, I take rest. As I dream, my occupation is B to Z. Can you give me one word that summarizes B to Z? Give me one word that summarizes B to Z. I'm a spirit soul. My occupation is A, which is a servant of Krishna. I sleep and dream, and I experience A to Z. Give me one word that identifies my occupation as B to Z. Okay, it's not an illusion, it's not a dream, it's not wakeful life. You could say it's conditioned life, it's material life. So A, darkness, right? A is I'm a spirit soul, I'm a servant of Krishna. When I sleep as the soul, I go into dream state, which is when I experience all the other occupations of A to Z, of B to Z. And B to Z is material life. B to Z is that I got a material body. B to Z is Maya. B to Z is all the problems. B to Z is we experience the illusory experience of this material world and all its ramification. The dream state. Right. Everyone happy with that understanding? Now, yes, dream state is where I'm now the master. I'm the Lord. I'm the enjoyer, everything there, right? Just as in our first example, it's real, it's temporary, but it's a valid experience. How do I wake up from that material state? A dream state, we have a material body, B to Z, I'm experiencing all the suffering, this body, etc. All I need is to wake up. And I can wake up by an alarm, sound, the Hare Krishna mantra. Somebody can come and wake me up, the guru, the devotees, Srila Prabhupada's books, the Supreme Lord. Some experience can shock me so drastically that I start to realize something, I don't like this, I need to get out, I need help. The question is, how quickly can I wake up from this dream of B to Z, of the spirit soul dreaming, having a material body? How quickly can I wake up? Ask a real question, where exactly I am in the moment. So it can take you one moment or it can take you lifetimes. It all depends on you. Just like, how many of you had the experience, you're sleeping, your alarm goes on, and what you do? Put it off. Snooze button. Right? So you don't wake up immediately, even though you need to wake up. It's like you snooze for another 5, 10, 15, 20, 1 hour. Or your parents, as a child, your parents wake you up. Time to wake up. Yeah, wake up just now. You don't want to wake up. So like that also, we don't want to wake up to our true identity. But actually, it can be a moment, it can be instant if you want to wake up. And because of our conditioning, we're so conditioned that we keep falling off to sleep. That's the challenge. That's why we need good association to keep ourselves vigilant. But the point and the example we need to appreciate is that you have nothing to do with your body. Your relationship has, you as a spirit soul, has absolutely nothing to do with this body. The only thing that you getting the body, the only reason why you're getting the body is because you are dreaming. Your whole material existence, believe it or not, your life, your body, family, your friends, your occupation, this world, and everything in between is simply part of the dream. And therefore, it does not hold substantial weight in relation to your true spiritual identity. It's a stark and shocking reality, which many people don't want to accept. Like, really? You mean? Yes, I mean. Bhagavatam is very clear. It's simply a dream. And therefore, Shrijat Mahaprabhu has come to this world. Jeev Jago, Gora Chandra Bole. Wake up, sleeping soul, wake up. How do you wake up? Chant Hare Krishna. That sound will go in and wake you up. See? So now consider the soul is experiencing just like, okay, let's go back to our initial example. Our initial example was, here I am, I'm in this body, this is me, and I'm awake, and I'm experiencing the world. Then I go to sleep. Okay, I'm thinking I'm going to sleep. So the body is sleeping, but is there someone experiencing? So this is my A occupation. Am I experiencing my A occupation? Is there an experiential, what do we say, experiencer? Is someone experiencing occupation A? Yes or no? Yes. Not my soul. And you are the soul. You don't have a soul. You are the soul. So yeah, the soul is the experiencer. Now, when I sleep, is someone experiencing occupation B to Z? And yes, that same person is the experiencer. There's no two different people. It's the same people that's experiencing A occupation and B to Z occupation. Similarly, as the spirit soul You, the spirit soul, is experiencing A, eternal relationship with Krishna, your service to Krishna. And when you dreaming B to Z, you also experiencing B to Z. It's the same person. It's just that as soon as you wake up, your material body is gone. Your material existence is gone. It's disappeared. It's vanished because it was a dream. Just like all your B and Z problems, experiences is all gone. So I hope that clarifies our experience, our true existence in relation to how we even on this material illusion. That means really what's happening is the soul, occupation A, is not active in occupation A, is now caught up in a dream state of B to Z. And in B to Z, he's dreaming and now he's experiencing A1 and B1 to BZ within the dream. So within the dream, you have two experiences: a wakeful state under the dream, you could say under the spiritual dream, and B to Z, which is a dream state under the spiritual dream. As soon as your spiritual dream awakes, as soon as you wake up from your spiritual dream, material life is over. Okay, so subtle material, dream state, wakeful material, dream state. They're both dream states. You need to wake up from both the subtle and the material dream state, gross material dream state, to regain your spiritual consciousness. And as soon as that happens, you could say life over, true life starts. Material life over, true life starts. Rumisa says, what happens when you dream of a Bhagavatam class we had during the day? Is that good? Yes, that's very good. So here's what's going to happen. As you become more absorbed, so let's clarify, right? Spiritual awakening, spiritual dream state. A spiritual dream state is where I'm in Maya. In that, I have material dream and subtle dream, material wakeful state and subtle dream. So the more in my material wakeful state, that dream, the more I associate with Krishna, the Bhagavatam, chanting, hearing, serving. Guess what I'm doing? I'm actually engaged in activities of my spiritual A, wakeful state, which is my real state. But I'm doing that in my dream. And that begins to trigger remembrance. It begins to trigger links to my wakeful state. Let me ask you a question. When we're sleeping, like in our normal state, like now, when I go sleep, how many of you had the experience where you were dreaming and there were situations in your dream that came to a point that you did not allow that to move forward in your dream because your wakeful A occupation or state was like interrupting, like, no, I would never do that. No, I cannot allow that. It forced the dream to stop or not continue. Did anyone have an experience like that? That means your wakeful state was like superseding, was forcing your dream that was, flowing naturally. And at certain point, hold on, now this feels very unnatural. Sorry, it's not me. I have to wake up now. Or I'm falling from the cliff, right? And you don't want to realize and experience the ground. So therefore you wake up. That means your A state forced the dream to break and you wake up. Yes, jumped out of a dream. So that's basically what happens. Plane crash. So yeah, so many experiences, right? You're able to come out of that hold on, I'm in control. And you're able to come out. Similarly, right now when I engage in hearing Bhagavatam, chanting Hare Krishna, serving, taking prasad, offering lamps to Damodar, all those activities all those activities are linked to my true spiritual identity. Therefore, they're purifying. Therefore, they're connecting. They're waking me up. They're bringing that energy. It's attracting me to that existence. Therefore, they're extremely beneficial for waking the spirit soul. Right. Then Prabhupada says, so thus only in dreams does this misconception of I and my persist life after life. This continues life after life as long as the living entity is not purely conscious of his identity as the subordinate part and parcel of the Lord. Isn't it amazing that even in my dream, like I'm dreaming now, so I'm spiritually dreaming, materially awake. So I'm able to speak to you. But even in my dream, we are reflecting and thinking about our dream state and our wakeful state. And the more I think about it, the more I become absorbed in that, eventually revive my true identity. I wake up. I'm drowsy right now. So like people are deep sleep, then they slowly come up, they're still sleeping, then they're drowsy, then they wake up. Some people even walk in their sleep. So yes, it's amazing experience. But now we need to wake up. Now Prabhupada concludes. In his pure consciousness, however, there is no such misconceived dream. And in that pure consciousness, conscious state, the living entity does not forget that he is never the Lord, but is eternally servitor of the Lord, transcendental. This is pure state. Yes, gross dreams and subtle dreams. Material gross dreams and material subtle dreams. We need to wake up from both dreams. The subtle dream is even further. So here's an interesting forthcoming attraction. I got gross dreams. I got subtle dreams. Then I'm going to get virtual dreams. Right now, because of technology and internet, people are creating virtual reality. Now they're going to go into the virtual reality, and even in the virtual reality, there'll be awake and sleeping, which means now I'm going from gross to subtle to virtual. And I need to go the other direction. I need to go from virtual to subtle, from subtle to gross, from gross to spiritual. Wake up. And Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's mercy, is doing that for us, helping us wake up. And once you wake up, then you will not be dreaming. Then you're in your original state of consciousness. And just like someone can walk with their eyes open and still be sleeping, it's called sleepwalking, we are all walking and working with our eyes open, but the soul's eyes are still closed. So we are still sleepwalking, and we need to wake up. Here's a beautiful purport and verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 3rd Canto, text 9, verse 9. O my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries in influence by your external energy. What is the glue that keeps me in these dream states with my gross body? Yes, we basically material zombies. And what is keeping me in that state? Sense enjoyment. I'm thinking I can enjoy my senses. So sense enjoyment is the root cause, my desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. Prabhupada in this purport says, the whole trouble of the living entity in material existence is that he has an independent conception of life. He is always dependent on the rules of the Supreme Lord in both the conditioned and liberated states. But by the influence of the external energy, the conditioned soul thinks himself independent of the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His constitutional position is to dovetail himself with the desire of the Supreme Will. Remember the Prabhupada talking about the will of Krishna? So when we dovetail ourselves to the will of Krishna, that is perfection. But as long as he does not do so, he is sure to drag on in the shackles of material bondage. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 255, Rajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. He has to give up all sorts of plans manufactured by mental concoction. Living entity has to dovetail himself with the Supreme Will. That will help him to get out of the entanglement of the material existence. So it's real. It's definitely bondage. It's definitely not our real existence. Once you know that, once you realize that, then the rest becomes easy, because now the foundation of your identity, you know that that's not me. You know that this is not me. You know that actually I am a spirit soul. I'm a servant of Krishna. That's my identity. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna. And now, how can I mold my life, mold everything to not increase my attachment to my dream, but to actually increase my attachment to awakening state? That's why you find in the spiritual circles, they talk about awakening. We need to experience the awakening. What's all this awakening about? Well, that's exactly it. You need to wake up from your dream state, your both material and gross dream states. Now, the second verse, having received the gross and subtle body, how does the living entity act? So you are awake, you are spiritually dreaming, forgot your identity. Spiritual dreaming means material life, my current existence. How do I act in this dream state? Sukadeva Goswami is replying, Bahurupa iha bhati mayaya rupaya Rama mano guneshwasya mahaham iti manyate. The illusioned living entity appears in so many forms offered by the external energy of the Lord, while enjoying in the modes of material nature the encaged living entity misconceives thinking in terms of I and mine. So what the dream state is doing by the influence of the material energy is when you forget your true identity and you fall off to sleep and start to dream. Now the material energy, you under the influence of the external energy, what happens in that dream, you get Bahurupa Ibadati. You get many, many, many forms. And with those forms, you start thinking in relation to I and mine. I am human. I am bird. I am beast. I am dog. I am this. I am that. And this is my family. This is my friends. This is my house. This is my car. This is all part of the dream. The different forms of the living entities are different dresses offered by the illusory external energy of the Lord according to the modes of nature the living entity desires to enjoy. What triggered the whole cycle? Your desire to be the Lord, your desire to enjoy like the Lord, your desire to dominate. That desire starts to increase. Variety of forms and shapes. It gives you different bodies to fulfill those different desires. So this energy is no ordinary energy. Krishna's energy is very, very powerful. In fact, in the future cantos will come, experience the pastime of Markandeya Rishi. He asked Krishna, my Lord, I've read about your material energy being very powerful. I want to experience it. Krishna gave him an experience that he never forgot. This energy is so powerful that when you come under the influence of this energy, that the dream is so real. It's so real that if I eat something now, it's not like a dream. I'm experiencing, it's like far out. It's real, man. If I pinch you, you feel pain. That's how powerful this energy is. It's Krishna's energy, no joke. And this energy can give you so many material bodies. Just like in your normal dream, you can be a bird, you can be a beast, you can be an aeroplane pilot, you can be a doctor, you can be anything. So material energy also can give you so many bodies according to your desires. The external material energy is represented by her three modes: goodness, passion, namely goodness, passion, ignorance. So even in material nature, there's a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. Just as your Krishna consciousness can influence dreams, or your wakeful experiences can influence dreams, similarly, our desires can influence dreams. Our desires influence our material experience or material dreams. So even in the material nature, there is a chance of an independent choice by the living entity. And according to his choice, the material energy offers him different varieties of material bodies. There are 900,000 varieties of material bodies in water, 2 million vegetable bodies, 1.1 million worms and reptiles, 1 million forms of birds, 3 million different bodies of bees, and 400,000 human forms. Altogether, there are 8.4 million varieties of bodies in different planets of universes and the universe. And the living entity is traveling by so many transmigrations according to different modes of enjoying spirit within himself. even in one particular body, the living entity changes from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age, and from old age to another body created by his own action. So we unfortunately really caught up in this cycle, going through different experience. And as long as we are not exposed to the truth of the Bhagavatam, the cycle continues. It has continued for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes, thinking this is me. As soon as I leave this body and I'm in another body, I'm thinking I'm that body, convinced. And everything in relation to that body is mine. Therefore, I will protect it till death. As soon as I get exposed to the truth of the Bhagavatam, now the beauty of the reality of Krishna consciousness really comes through. The living entity creates his own body by his personal desires. So we cannot blame anyone. We can't blame Krishna. We can't blame the material energy. Whatever we're getting and the experiences we're getting, there is only one person responsible and accountable. And that is you, ourselves, no one else. The living entity creates his own body by his own personal desires, and external energy of the Lord supplies him the exact form by which he can enjoy his desires to the fullest. The tiger wanted to enjoy the blood of another animal, and therefore, by the grace of the Lord, the material energy supplied him with the body of a tiger with facilities for enjoying blood from another animal. Similarly, living entity desiring to get the body of a demigod in the higher planets can also get it by the grace of the Lord. And if he's intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So let us understand the reality and change our desire. That's all. You just need to work on that aspect. How can I fine-tune? How can I improve? How can I strengthen my desire? And desire is strengthening a good association. Just like, how can I strengthen my desire to become a drunkard? All I need is good association of drunkards. So I just need good association. And remember, your desire can be weakened and strengthened. So if I associate with good spiritual association, I can increase my desire. And the converse is also true. Therefore, I have to be very, very careful what I expose myself to. Because whatever you expose yourself to, it's strengthening your desire. In Nectar Devotion, Srila Rupa Goswami describes that every experience, like for example, I watch a movie, I eat, I act, I sleep, I work, I engage in other activities. Every activity, every action that I perform gives you two different reactions. One is it increases the desire related to that action. And the second is you get a prarabdha and aprarabdha reaction. Like for example, say I drink water. So when I drink water, two things are going to happen. My desire to drink water is going to increase. And the prarabdha, the reaction of the water is going to impact my body. If I drink liquor, my desire for drinking liquor is going to increase. and the liquor is going to have an impact on the physical plane of my body. Prabdha and aprabdha also going to get a reaction in my next life. So every activity, sometimes the devotees may say, I'm very attached to movies. I'll just see the last movie, then I no more movies. Doesn't work. Because that last movie that you're going to watch is going to do what? It's going to increase your desire. Therefore, it never becomes the last. Okay? So we should be very careful of what we're consuming, what we're associating, what is going into our eyes, what is going into our ears, what is going into our nose, what is going into our sense of touch and taste through all mediums. Because those things that I am experiencing that I come in contact is going to increase my desire. And therefore, it can perpetuate the entanglement. And Prabhupada is saying, and if he's intelligent enough, he can desire to get a spiritual body to enjoy the company of the Lord, and he will get it. So this is our desire. My Lord, please allow me to become your eternal servant again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh my Lord, oh energy Lord, please engage me in your service. Please engage me in your service. Please allow me to come back to your service. This is our desire. And as soon as I have that desire, now I strengthen that, I build on that, I engage in relation to that, I enhance that experience. And by doing that, I am begging, I am invoking the mercy of Krishna to please change his will. And as soon as his will changes, the first verse that we covered today, the energy changes. From external energy, we now get influenced by this internal spiritual energy. And as soon as we get the experience by the internal spiritual energy, free from our material. Vimusa says, how does Srila Rupa Goswami put it in the Nectar Devotion? You can read, I'll find the reference for next week. Srila Rupa Goswami is talking about sin. He's glorifying the power of bhakti. And he's saying that bhakti not only can purify sin, it can purify even the seeds of sin. It can purify the desires for sin. It can purify all sins. That's the power of bhakti. So in that discussion in relation to the manifestation of sin from its bij to its prabdha manifestation, Rupa Goswami is talking about activities. When you engage in activities, this is the ramification. It strengthens desire and it gives you a reaction. So the minute freedom of the living entity, the minute freedom of the living entity can be fully utilized. And the Lord is so kind that he will award the living entity the same type of body he desires. The living entity's desiring is like dreaming of a golden mountain. A person knows that a mountain is there. The mountain is. And he knows also what gold is. Out of his desire only, he dreams of a golden mountain. And when the dream is over, he sees something else in his presence. He finds in his awkward state, there is neither gold nor a mountain, what to speak of a golden mountain. The different positions of the living entities in the material world under the multifarious manifestations of bodies are due to the misconception of mind and I. The karmis think the world is mine. The jnanis think I'm everything. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned soul, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are the products of a strong desire to enjoy material life. Very, very powerful. The whole material conception of politics, sociology, philanthropy, altruism, etc., conceived by the conditioned souls, is on the basis of this misconceived I and mine, which are products of a strong desire to enjoy material. Basically, it's all Maya. People get so caught up. I'm part of this political group. I need to vote. And sociology. Then I'm, part of this NGO. I have this philosophy, this understanding, this, it's all in relation to the misconceived I. One needs to understand that there is another existence of the true I and mine. I am Krishna's and Krishna is mine. That is the perfection of I and mine. Everything else is really part of the dream state. And we really don't want to get caught up. Yes, we may be involved, but as they say, tread with caution. When you know there's danger, you tread with caution. Or they say, tread on the side of safety. So it's better to be on the safer side than really get caught up and get involved in the whole thing. This understanding keeps us afloat. Just like a lotus, it's in the water, but not off the water. We need to be in this world because we're already in this world. But we need to learn the art of not being part of this world. We need to learn to be of the spiritual nature while in this world. And take advantage of this world to revive that true spiritual nature. And again, it's not mythology. It's not mental concoction, as Prabhupada says. It's not a superimposition on the mind. It's like, they're just thinking that there's spirit souls and there's God. People think that I'm illusioned, everybody else is illusioned, thinking they are spiritual beings, God is illusion, etc. No, there's a real substance to spiritual existence. And while you in this conditional state, you can experience. One time, Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples, how do you know Krishna is God? And they gave different answers. And ultimately, Prabhupada said, because you can feel him. See, that feeling is not fictitious. It is real. It's genuine. And that's the feeling that we can experience in spiritual life, that there's something real here. And now if I just direct myself, I can awaken him. There's another aspect to this. When Srila Bhakti Charumaharaj met Srila Prabhupada for the first time, Srila Prabhupada said, you've given so many lives to Maya. So many varieties of species. Just give this one life to Krishna and see what happens. And Maharaj was thinking, valid point. I mean, I've tried so many dreams, so many species, and where did I get, where did it end? Where did it end me up? Still in suffering. So let me try give this one life to Krishna and see if anything happens. And if nothing happens, I'll go back to dreaming. But if something happens, then I'll be very thankful. And we are confident. The Bhagavatam is confident. Srila Prabhupada is confident that yes, there is something real there. No doubt. Let's continue. Identification with the body and the place where the body is obtained under different conception of socialism, nationalism, family affection, and so forth, so on and so forth, is all due to forgetfulness of the real nature of the living entity. And the whole misconception of the bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, as all this is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So the fruit of our association with the Bhagavatam, because we are associating currently with Maharaj Parikshit, inquiring, Sukadev Goswami is replying, Srila Prabhupada is expanding. So we're not only getting the association of Sukadev Goswami, we're also getting the association of Maharaj Parikshit, and we're getting the association of Prabhupada in his Bhaktivedanta purports, plus all the Acharya's commentaries, Prabhupada is including. So we're getting the association of the whole disciplic succession, and ultimately the Bhagavatam is Krishna. We're getting Krishna's association. With that association, it is guaranteed that we will become purified. And what is the root cause of our suffering, our misidentification? Forgetfulness of our real nature. So we always need to keep that in the forefront of all our activities. I am actually a servant of Krishna, an eternal servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of Krishna. I am an eternal servant of Srila Prabhupada. Let me always act to enhance, to uphold that relationship. Dharmesh says, why is it when we are trying to surrender, there's a continual internal duality fighting? How do we overcome? Yes, the same example, Dharmesh. When you're sleeping, do you get up instantly every single time, like clockwork? You know, when the alarm or when your time is up, when somebody calls, do you get up without any hesitation at all? Yes or no? How many of you get up instantly, like you are supercharged and excited, and you get up on the spot like clockwork every single day of your life? Yeah, no. There may be, there may be those odds and occasions. I give an example of one day I can remember. I mean, there are a few days, like if it's a festival day. If it's a festival, let's say it's Janmashtami. What about sleeping? I can't even sleep. It's like you're excited. Okay, Janmashtami is like you're not even fully sleeping, right? So that's one example. But I remember when I was a kid, at home, our family would go to Sun City. They call it Sun City. And we were underage. So if you're underage, our family would not take us. So then you grow up, and now you like coming to the age where now you are allowed to go for holiday to Sun City. So the night before we were going to Sun City, I slept for a few hours and I was awake instantly to go to Sun City because of sense gratification. So that time, it was because of sense gratification that became the impetus to wake up. Now, if like on the weekends, we generally go to dress the deities. So at 1 o'clock, we have to be up. And because we like to serve the deities, because we like to go to the temple, as soon as the alarm is, goes, or sometime before the alarm, we up and we ready to go for festival. So the desire changes. And yes, it may be a struggle. Now, let me give you a practical example of why the struggle is there. Let's first come to the basic example in relation to our normal wakeful and dream state. How is it that I'm awake and, okay, let me ask a question. So be honest. How many of you really enjoy and like sleeping, in terms of you feel that, like, yeah, you like it, because if you don't like it, then you won't do it, right? So how many of you like to sleep and you enjoy that aspect of sleeping? Now, forget about being in Maya, right? We just coming to ground level, practical level. Forget about it's Maya. I'm just talking practically. How many of you like and find the need that it's very beneficial and helpful and important to sleep? And when you go sleep, you are happy sleeping. Yes. Even I do, believe it or not. Right? Now, the question is why? So let's understand this from a spiritual perspective. Why? So there you are on the spiritual plane, right? You are eternal servant of Krishna. What's the closest to your nature? Material, subtle material, dream state, or gross material, wakeful state? Which state is closer to your spiritual state? There's your spiritual state. Then you get subtle material. Then you get gross material. Which state is closer to spiritual reality? Correct. Subtle material is closer. That's why if I'm awake in the material world, it's gross wakeness, it's gross state. When I go sleep, I'm closer to my spiritual nature. And that's why I feel relieved, I feel peaceful, I feel relaxed, because I'm closer to my spiritual nature. And for me to wake up, to come to gross, is moving away from my spiritual nature, and therefore a little hesitation. I don't want to wake up. Can I sleep? Can I continue sleeping? So that's why generally it's difficult for people to wake up, because the sleep state is actually more spiritually energizing than gross material state. Now, we can take the same experience in terms of the spiritual state and trying to practice spiritual life. Because of my material conditioning, it may be more difficult to embrace those things spiritually initially. It's going to be a battle because I am already conditioned. Now I need to uncondition myself. So this type of experience or oscillation or struggle is going to be there. So Dharmesh, don't think you are the only one that's struggling. How many of you here in the group also struggle? Like Dharmesh, you oscillate, it's like you have to really grind at it, or like go, sometimes you have to put energy, sometimes the mind just doesn't, the mind doesn't just allow, smooth sailing. Let's see how many of you you're all associated with the Bhagavatam. Let's see what's happening here. Yeah. It's going to be all. So the question is, we all struggle. One time, Srila Prabhupada went to one temple and he asked, yeah, every time you go to the temple, he would see one devotee. So this time he went to the temple and he asked, where's this devotee? And the temple president said, well, Srila Prabhupada, he is in Maya. He comes for like 2-3 months. He'll be in the temple, then he'll fall away. Then he'll come for 2-3 months and he'll fall away. Then he'll come for 2-3 months and he'll fall away. Come for 2-3 months and fall away. And Prabhupada responded, just see how much he loves Krishna. They were surprised. What was the implication? Why would he come back? If he's not convinced that I'm meant to be a servant of Krishna, why would he come back? The reason he's coming back is because he's convinced that I am an eternal servant of Krishna. But my conditioning, my baggage, it's so difficult. I'm struggling with the 48 principles, and that pulls him away. And he comes back. Guess what? The pulling away will become weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker with good association, and eventually it will stop. So we simply have to continue. If you fall, no problem. You get up and you continue. Okay, it's not how many times you fall. You get up. The only failure will be when you never get up again. As long as you keep trying, keep struggling. So yes, the struggle will be there. But we should, with good association, keep at it. Like, for example, chanting. Even if you fall away, never give up your bead bag. Because that's your link, that's your connection. You get strength and you get inspiration. And eventually it'll become easier. During the last 5 days of Kartik, I'll be doing Madhurika Nambini. It's a beautiful course showing the progress of our journey and the struggles that we go through. And Srila Vishwan Chakravarti Thakur has already shared the obstacle that Dharmesh mentioned, thick and thin. Different obstacles that we experience in our initial stage of bhakti. When we know that this is the initial obstacles, we don't become disturbed. Oh yeah, he did talk about this, eh? And here's it, I'm experiencing it. See, before being a devotee, I never experienced that. Now trying to be a devotee, experience that. Oh yeah, that's true. He just revealed what we're going to experience, and I'm experiencing it. And he also tells us what we're going to experience if we continue with the process. So yes, it is normal. It is normal. So don't worry. As Prabhupada is saying here Prabhupada is giving us blessings. What's the blessing? The blessing is that the whole misconception of bewildered living entity can be removed by the association of Sukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit. And all this is explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we are in the right association of the Bhagavatam. Now, next question. So we'll cover this verse and then we'll stop. How do I become free from this me and my? How do I get out of this dream state? So I now know exactly what caused the dream state. I know what happens in the dream state. I get all the different bodies and species. And my consciousness becomes I and my. Now, how can I get out? Text 3. Yarhi vava mahim niswe parasmin kalamayayo rameta gata samohas tyakto daste tabo bhyayam. As soon as the living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory and begins to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy, he at once gives up the two misconceptions of life, I and mine, and thus becomes fully manifested as the pure self. As soon as a living entity becomes situated in his constitutional glory. And when you become situated in your constitutional glory, now you begin to enjoy the transcendence beyond time and material energy. See, there is no question of giving up enjoyment. It's not that you shouldn't be happy and spiritual life is all about suffering. No. It is wonderful to enjoy in relation to Krishna. We have to know the secret of enjoyment. So when we are situated in our glory, constitutional glory, we will enjoy naturally. That's what we're seeking for. Prabhupada's purport. The two misconceptions of life, namely I and mine. I'm this body, and everything in relation to the body is mine, are verily manifested in two classes of men. In the lower state of the misconception of mine is very prominent, and in the higher state of the misconception of I, in the misconception of I is prominent. So of the two, try to understand this. The two misconceptions of our material dream is I and mine. Of the two, Prabhupada is saying the lower state is mine, is very prominent. And in the higher state, I, which means I is the most problematic, the most difficult, the issue. If you can deal with the I, then the mind will be sorted. Because if I am this male body, then everything in relation to the male body, male human body, male human Indian body, male human Indian South African body becomes the my extension. If I think I'm a dog, then everything in relation to the dog, my becomes the aspect that I deal with. Similarly, if my I changes to I am a spirit soul, I am a servant of Krishna, I am a servant of Prabhupada, then everything in relation to mine also changes. In the animal state of life, the misconception of mine is perceivable even in the categories of cats and dogs, who fight with one another with the same misconception of mine. In the lower stage of human life, the same misconception is also prominent in the shape of it is my body, it is my house, it is my family, it is my caste, it is my nation, it is my country, and so on. And in the higher stage of speculative knowledge, the same misconception of mine is transformed into I am, or I am all. So these are all misconceptions. There are many classes of men comprehending the same misconception of I and mine in different colors. But the real significance of I can be realized only when one is situated in the consciousness of I am the eternal servitor of God. This is pure consciousness, and all Vedic literatures teach us this conception. Please ingrain this, remember this, focus on this, absorb your mind on this, think of this every moment, every time, reflect on it. This should become the pivotal point of your identity. I am an eternal servant. As soon as you identify, or you start identifying, or you reflect on this, it starts to change your behavior. It starts to change mind. It starts to change your actions, your activities, your paradigm, your perspective. Everything changes when I change. When this I change, everything changes. And what's the basis of all transcendental wisdom, of pure consciousness? What the Vedas are teaching us? I am the eternal servant of Krishna. Jiva Swarupa Krishna Nitya Das. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed us. Jiva Swarupa, the Swarup, the eternal constitution of the living entity is what? Jiva Swarup Krishna Nitya Das is the eternal servant of Krishna. So we need to live our life like we are eternal servants of Krishna. We should become full-time devotees of Krishna and part-time workers, part-time students, part-time house people, part-time occupational, duties. I'm a full-time servant of Krishna. I'm an eternal servant of Krishna caught up in these other activities, secondary activities. I'm a full-time servant of Krishna, part-time doing my duties here. But I'm going to be fully absorbed over time in this conception. And by Krishna's mercy, I want to be reinstated in this occupation of being an eternal servant. Prabhupada continues. The misconception of I am the Lord or I am the Supreme is more dangerous than the misconception of me. So we should be very, very, very careful of this last snare of Maya to think that you are God. No, we are never God. We will never be God. We are always subordinate to God. We are always eternal servants of God. This is the last snare of Maya, which we know people are there. There are different organizations and groups and philosophers and practitioners. They think, yeah, I'm God. You are only God in quality, not in quantity. Yes, God is Satchidananda. You are also Satchidananda. That's as far as you're going to go. But you are not God in quantity. Krishna is Vibhu, you are Anu. Krishna is everything, you are tiny. Krishna never forgets, you forget. Krishna never falls in Maya. Krishna never comes in contact with his material energy. You fall in contact with the material energy. So there's a vast difference. Although there are sometimes directions in the Vedic literature to think oneself one with the Lord, that does not mean that one becomes identical with the Lord in every respect. Undoubtedly, there is oneness of the living entity with the Lord in many respects, but ultimately, the living entity is subordinate to the Lord and is constitutionally meant for satisfying the senses of the Lord. How are we constituted in constitution? How are we one with the Lord? For example, we should be one in desire. We should be one in purpose, one in mission. The Lord therefore asks the conditioned souls to surrender unto him. Had the living entities not been subordinate to the will of the Lord, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? So surrender is good for us. Krishna would not ask us to do anything that's bad for us. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says surrender. Why? Because that's good for you. Why do parents instruct children to go to school? Because it's good for them. Why do parents instruct children to eat healthy? Why? Because it's good for them. So our supreme parents, Radha and Krishna, tell us to surrender. Why? Because it's good for us. The Lord therefore asked the conditioned souls to surrender unto him. Had the living entity not been subordinate to the supreme will, why would the living entity be asked to surrender? Had the living entity been equal in all respects, then why would he put under the influence of Maya? We have already discussed many times that the material energy is controlled by the Lord. Bhagavad Gita 9:10 confirms that this controlling power of the Lord over the material energy confirms that this controlling power of the Lord over the material nature. Can a living entity who claims to be as good as the supreme being control the material nature? No. And that's the thing. That's the Prabhupada is giving a challenge. Oh, you claim to be God? Or you are supreme? Okay, control your bowels. Let's see how strong you are. If you can't even control your bowels, your bowel movement, How can you even claim God? Because God is never under the material energy. He's always above. He's always supreme. And you can't even control your bowels and you claim to be God? Foolishness. The foolish I would reply that he will do so in the future, even accepting that in the future one will be as good a control of the material nature as supreme being. Then why is one now under the control of material nature? See, Prabhupada leaves no stone unturned. Okay, so in the future I'll do it. Okay, then what's the problem now? That means now you're not God. So then in the future you'll become God. So how can not God become God? And how can God become not God? Your philosophy is fruitless, foolish. The Bhagavad Gita says that one can be freed from the control of the material nature by surrendering unto the Supreme Lord. But if there is no surrender, then the living entity will never be able to control material nature. Mayam etam tarantite. If you surrender to Krishna, then only can you overcome material nature. And what is the basis of that surrender? The sign, the first symptom, the first sign of surrender is chanting the holy names of Krishna. This is the first sign of surrender. And it then builds. Surrender is not just, like one moment. It can build. Surrender can grow. Surrender can increase. Sharanagati, 6 symptoms of surrender. In the academy, we got a course called the 6 symptoms of surrender. Right? You can understand how you can increase your surrender. For example, accepting is favorable, rejecting is unfavorable. Accept Krishna as your guide, as your friend. Be humble, be meek. Accept Krishna as a protector. By doing this, you increase surrender. So one must also give up this misconception of I by practicing the way of devotional service and becoming firmly situated in transcendental loving service of the Lord. So this is all in relation to that answer that you people gave. So then simply we engage in devotional service. A poor man without any employment, occupation may undergo so many troubles in life. But if by chance the same man gets a good service under the government, he at once becomes happy. So Prabhupada is not giving us an example, an analogy to appreciate this point. There is no profit in denying the supremacy of the Lord, who is the control of all energies. But one should be constitutionally situated in his own glory, namely, to be situated in the pure consciousness of being the eternal servitor of the Lord. As soon as you have that service back, your glory shines. You'll be happy. So happy. So that's all we need to strive for. In his conditional life, the living entity is a servant of the illusory Maya. And in his liberated state, he is the pure, unqualified servant of the Lord. To become untinged by the modes of material nature is the qualification for entering into the service of the Lord. As long as one is a servant of mental concoction, one cannot be completely freed from the disease of I and mind. So don't be the servant of the mind. Don't be the servant of your senses. Don't be the servant of Maya. Don't be the servant of the dictates of others who are under the influence of Maya. We want to be under the influence of the pure devotee, the pure representative of Krishna. We want to be under the influence of the Bhagavatam, of Krishna, Krishna's teachings. The supreme truth is uncontaminated by the illusory energy because he is the controller of that energy. The relative truths are apt to be engrossed in the illusory energy. The best purpose is served, however, when one is directly facing the supreme truth, as when one faces the sun. The sun overhead in the sky is full of light, but when the sun is not in the visible sky, all is in darkness. Similarly, when one is face to face with the Supreme Lord, he is freed from all illusion. And one who is not so is in the darkness of illusory Maya. The Bhagavad Gita 14:26 confirmed this as follows. Mam cha yo vibhacharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. So the science of bhakti yoga, of worshipping the Lord, glorifying the Lord, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source, not from a professional man, but from a person who is Bhagavatam in life, and being always in the association of pure devotees, should be adopted in earnestness. One should not be misled by the misconceptions of I and mine. The Karamis are fond of the conceptions of mine, and the Gyanis are fond of the conception of I. And both of them are unqualified to be free from the bondage of the illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam and primarily the Bhagavad Gita are both meant for delivering a person from the misconception of I and mine. And Srila Vyasadeva transcribed them for the deliverance of the fallen souls. The living entity has to be situated in a transcendental position where there is no longer any influence of time or material energy. In conditioned life, the living entity is subjected to the influence of time in the dreams of past, present, and future. The mental speculators try to conquer the influence of time by speculating about becoming Vasudeva, or the Supreme Lord, and the future by means of culturing knowledge and conquering over ego. But the process is not perfect. The perfect process is to accept Lord Vasudeva as the supreme in everything. And the best perfection is culturing knowledge to surrender unto him, because he is the source of everything. Only in that conception can one get rid of the misconception of I and mine. Both the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam confirm it. Srila Vyasadeva has specifically contributed to the illusioned living entity, the science of God, and the process of bhakti yoga in his great literature, Srimad Bhagavatam. And the conditioned soul should fully take advantage of this great science. Vantarat Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gopramanande Hari Hari Bo. So we just covered the first three verses answering Maharaj Parikshit's first question in relation to the living entity. How does he get the material body? What's his relationship with the material body? And how does he free himself from the material body? Text 4 is going to now cover who is that personality that is beyond time and Maya. Because the living entity, when it's constitutionally positioned, is free from time and material energy. So now we're going to yearn next week on the glorious appearance of Krishna to Lord Brahma. So thank you very, very much. Are there any questions or comments anyone has? Radha Kirti Rani says, please explain the relation between the subconscious mind and your active mind in relation to our sleepy state. So we have two minds, conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind, we're able to do things and act consciously. And the subconscious mind basically keeps all our activities as memory, and also in the background is doing activities. So for example, we don't need to think about breathing. We don't need to think about, oh, I need to beat my heart, get my heart beating. No, that's all done subconsciously. So that's our two brains. Now, the conscious and subconscious mind and its functions are all in relation to the gross body working. And yes, because I am so attached to my body, I experience the pleasure and pain in relation to my attachment.
That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, as soon as you become detached, you become free from the karmic law. Detachment is the secret of not getting any reaction. Because I identify with my body, I identify with my conscious and subconscious activities. So in terms of sleepy state, I would, and I guess you're talking about sleepy state from, let's say, waking up to a spiritual state, or you're talking about sleepy state in terms of I'm, let's say, lazy to wake up on material state. I just need to clarify, right? But in relation to, let's say, becoming Krishna conscious, the first one, right? So in terms of spiritual state. So in terms of spiritual state, I don't have so much control of my subconscious. I have more control of my conscious. So I try to focus more consciously becoming Krishna conscious. When I try to focus more consciously becoming Krishna conscious, that starts to impact my subconscious, because everything I do in my conscious state gets imprinted in my subconscious state. Now, as I keep doing that again and again and again, my subconscious now becomes fully Krishna conscious. When my subconscious becomes fully Krishna conscious, now I can naturally be Krishna conscious. Coming to Dharmesha's point, there will not be any struggle, because now it's just natural. Like my heartbeat is natural, my breathing is natural. So then that becomes a natural instinct to be Krishna conscious. Like you find Srila Prabhupada saw his father doing arti, and naturally he also wanted to do arti because of his Krishna consciousness. So like that, the more we consciously practice, it will filter into our subconscious, and then automatically I will just become fully Krishna conscious, and then I revive out of my dream state and back to the spiritual world. All right. Namabati says, thank you, Prabhu, for the interesting class. We have so much to contemplate on. You explained so nicely. Prabhupada's purpose is brilliant. So inspiring. Thank you very much. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Thank you for the feedback. Anju says, Prabhu, Krishna wants us to surrender to him. Does this mean our free will is so strong that we still don't obey him? Yes. Not only our free will we can choose, but our condition is so strong. We're so stubborn. We like stubborn brats. We know, consider this, right? How many people know smoking is bad? Or let me ask this way. How many people who are smokers know that smoking is bad? Of those who are smoking, how many know smoking is bad? Please answer in the chat, those who are here. Most of them, all of them. Yeah, all of them know that, right? But how come they're all still smoking? That doesn't make sense, right? You know this thing kills you. You know this is bad for you, but yeah, just don't smoke. It doesn't make sense. Something's not right. And Arjuna asked the same question in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, how is it that people are doing the wrong thing when they know it's wrong? What's impelling them to do that? Krishna says, it is lust only, Arjuna, the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world, the desire to enjoy separately. So that's the problem. That's what keeps us being stubborn. Now, Prabhupada was very expert, super expert. You're not going to get, I'm still yet to find somebody as expert, as genius as Srila Prabhupada. Why? He knew that people love, to eat. The tongue is the most powerful. So what did Prabhupada do? He didn't say stop eating. He just made nice prasad for everybody to have. So wonderful. Right? He knew people love to hear music. Okay, give them nice Krishna music to hear. It's so amazing. Like today we were hearing Prabhupada's lecture. Prabhupada says, we have so nice association. You come to the temple. We chant and dance. Ish, wonderful. We chant and dance. People like to dance. People like to chant and sing. And then we feed you prasad, nice prasad. Such wonderful association. Why you don't come? Take advantage. So Prabhupada is so expert. He didn't say no eating, no dancing, no. No, you can have nice version of it. And slowly you get hooked. And before you know it, you want to surrender to Krishna. You want to do this. So that's the trick. So yes, just have nice prasad, nice kirtan, nice association. And this way, your stubbornness will go away. Mother Lash, thanks for the Krishna Katha. Very relevant class today. You explained things so nicely that I understand things much better. Thank you very much. Only a pleasure. Thanks to Srila Prabhupada. Dharmesh, we need to imbibe more good samskars that it becomes habits and then become subconscious. Yes, that's the secret. People don't read Bhagavad Gita, so they aren't aware of the Lord wants us to surrender him. Yes. And ignorance is no excuse. That is why, firstly, it's our duty to try to share this knowledge far and wide. We may not be able to contact everyone, but we can contact those people around us. We can at least share, at least somehow contact them or just give them some realizations. People say, how was your weekend? Wow, you want to know my weekend? You really want to know my weekend? You sure? I can tell you something from Saturday. This is what I heard. That man, he was talking like this. This is what he was saying. I read this from this book. So you don't need to go directly, but you can just share neutrally. Give some wisdom. And slowly they get it. You can't give them the highest, give them enough for that they can digest, they can start thinking. This way you can help them. So in this way we can all help different souls on their journey. This is important. Prabhupada, we need to understand Prabhupada's mood. We need to understand Prabhupada's message. And most important, we want to understand Prabhupada's mission. In the proper mood, the proper message, and understand Prabhupada's mission. Prabhupada's mission is to reclaim the whole universe, to give people, every living entity, Krishna consciousness. So we should try and do that. Thank you very much for everyone's kind association, questions, and attention. We will continue associating with Srimad Bhagavatam next week. Remember, if there's festivals or anything and we have to postpone, we will communicate in the weekly chat. So please keep in touch. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gopramanande, Hari Hari.